day number one of the 2023 Masters Fitness Championship is complete right here in the beautiful War Memorial Coliseum in the heart of Fort Wayne, Indiana. 500 athletes have come together over the course of 3 days with 2 floors and 2 venues to determine who is the fittest master. They've got one event that they did know, one event that they didn't know for the day, and the road to the podium begins right now. Hey, kicking off the recap, we're going to be talking about the teams in their events this morning. They had landscaping duty with that heavy sandbag and those burpee shuttle runs, and they didn't get in the pool. They actually did an event called Please Hold. You're going to have one dynamic movement, one static movement. One of them is going to be on the bar. One of them is with a bar. So you can go back, take a look at the event at compete.strongest to get the event details. But in the men's 30 to 39 category, Guns and Buns is on top with 2 second place finishes. So no first place finishes, but that consistency at the top of the leaderboard makes sure that Casey Bruns and Barry Peel, the flexi mustache himself, are at the top of the leaderboard with meat sweats right behind them. Coming from another angle in the 30 to 39 women's division, the Broadway girls absolutely dominating. 2 first place finishes, and quite frankly, because they're on the floor with the men at the same time, both Jen Ryan and Heather Hippensteel are keeping an eye on when the men finish, and they know when they beat most of the men. Hey, moving over to the 40 to 49 category, Team Overkill with a stranglehold on first place right now. Ryan Anderson and Kevin Jones, both former individual podium finishers, have a 3-point lead over Delta Tango. Overkill took 2 first place finishes. Delta Tango with a 3rd in landscaping duty and a 2nd in Please Hold, trying to keep up with the pace that Overkill has set. Sticking with domination in the 40 to 49 category, over on the ladies' side, the Townies made up of Olga Axelrod and Stacy Kroon have taken 2 first place finishes. They lead the rest of the field by at least 3 points. In a tie for second right now, the Butler's Bitches and Does Your Sports Doctor Even CrossFit each have taken a 3rd and a 2nd place. In the men's team division, we encounter our very first tie up at the top. Bros with Beards, a couple of recognizable names in the Masters. Richard Stevenson and Lon Allen have taken a 2nd place and a 1st place, and they have flip-flopped with Just Off the Couch, made up of another couple of recognizable names in Ron Ortiz and Robbie Davis. Both have 3 points, way out of Atlanta in 3rd place with 6 points. At the moment, Bros with Beards and Just Off the Couch looking like a 2-horse race. Let's see if anybody can close that gap. And in the women's 50 to 59 team category, Alliteration leads the way. Invictus Indomitable with 2 first place finishes is over Gritty Grannies with 2 second place finishes. So Gritty Grannies trying to make up some ground on Indomitable. Gonna have a lot of work to do ahead of them though. Hey, and just in case you thought teams were only for the youngest divisions, we've got our 60-plus division. In first place with 2 first place finishes is Team Rush Hour with Brett Kurihara and Thomas Johnson. While the women's vegan grandmas lead the way in the 60-plus division with Patty Walkover and Deborah White. Our teams are doing amazing things, so are all of our individuals. Hey, looking at the RX category with some incredibly talented and strong athletes. In the men's 30 to 34, Saxon Steele leads the way with an event win in Sharkbait and a 3rd place finish in Triple Threat. He's only got a 1-point lead on Michael Rosa, who took a 4th place finish in Sharkbait, but he won Triple Threat. The 30 to 34 ladies have a similarly close finish. In first place, Emily Egan with 5 points took a 2nd in the pool and a 3rd in Triple Threat, while Kristen Hernandez dominated in Triple Threat but took a 5th in the pool, and they're tied now, and she's tied. And she's tied with Molly George, who took a 1st in the pool and tied for 5th in the Triple Threat. This division is gonna be tight all weekend long. In the 35 to 39 RX men, Kanoa Perviance, and Kanoa, if I'm saying your name wrong, I'm so sorry. He's sitting at the top of the leaderboard by 2 points, took a second in the pool, tied for second in the triple threat. David Mangini took a first in Sharkbait to pull him within 2 points of Kanoa. The women's individual 35-39, Lauren Garcia has a 1 point lead on Autumn Mills. Garcia being steady at the top of that leaderboard, a second place in Sharkbait and a third place in triple threat. Hey, and you want to talk about a wild top of the leaderboard for the individual men in the 40-44. This has the highest point total of all of the divisions for our leader. 8 points from Jason Lewis. Lewis has a second place in the pool for Sharkbait and a sixth in triple threat. Right behind him with 9 points is Jesse Foster, who took a fifth in the pool, a fourth in triple threat, and Joe Tucker sitting in third with 10 points. Took a ninth in the pool, but his tie for first in triple threat has made sure he's still within podium finish rankings. On the opposite side of the category, in the women's individual 40-44, Diana Smirnova only has 2 points, dominating the day with a first in Sharkbait and a first in triple threat. Her next closest competitor has 8 points, with Tara White sitting in second place. In the 45-49 for the men, Dave Feinberg sitting in first, a third in the pool, combined with a tie for fourth means that he's got a 5-point lead over Eric Matuzik, who took a first in the pool and an 11th in triple threat. This is going to be a battle all weekend long in this division. On the ladies' side, Dana Hazard, a first in the pool in the evening, puts her in the top spot of the leaderboard with 3 points. She tied for second in triple threat earlier in the day, giving her the lead over Tammy Hiley, who actually won triple threat and took a third in the pool in the evening. In the men's 50-54, Rodrigo Doles has really separated from the rest of the leaderboard, even after just one day. A second place in the pool and a first place this morning for triple threat means that he has a 4-point lead over second place. In the 50-54, Melissa Peters has a similarly large lead. She's got a 3-point lead over Mindy Hoffman. Peters with just 2 points because of 2 first-place finishes. Hoffman trying to keep pace with a third and a second on the day. You want to talk about a tight leaderboard, let's talk about the 55-59 men. Here's the deal. We've got 4 people all tied with 5 points. 2 of those are tied for first because they both have a first place finish. So Kurt Gawain and Jeff Scarrett both have 5 points. Each has a first place finish and a fourth place finish, but tied with them in points is Alan Otned and Eric Champion. Each has a second and a third place, but technically are tied for third. In the women's 55-59, Tracy Bailey and Michelle Yamashita are tied for first with 3 points, each with a first and a second place finish on the day. Hey, similarly on the 60-64 men, Joseph Babiars has 3 points, as well as Joseph LaMagna. Each has a second and a first place finish on the day. On the ladies' side of that division, Kim Taylor-Papp and Janet Duet, each with 3 points in a similar fashion to the men. We've got our 65-plus division up and running again as well. How about Jeff Porter for the men with a first and a second in Sharkbait, taking the lead. On the ladies' side, a recognizable last name at least, Joanna Tunnicliffe, dominating her division in the way that we have seen her daughter do it before. 2 first-place finishes means that she's got a 3-point stranglehold over this division. Hey, moving over to the elite individual divisions now. In the 30-34, that's right, we've got the 30-34 here at the Masters Fitness Championship. Selvin Ramjatan, a first in landscaping duty and a third in the pool this evening, means that he is tied for first with Malachi Bennett, who took 2 second-place finishes in a showing of consistency. On the ladies' side of that 30-34 division, Sarah Sullivan leads the way with 7 points. A third place in landscaping duty and a fourth place in Sharkbait ensures a 1-point lead over Lauren Bollinger, who took a fifth in landscaping duty and a third in Sharkbait. Julianne Broadbent coming up in third with 9 points, lurking, waiting for Saturday. Travis Flanagan leads the way for the men in the 35-39 division. Flanagan this year finished 40th in the Open and comes out strong on day one with a first in landscaping duty and a fourth in the pool for shark bait. He leads the way by 3 points over Michael Poss and Jonathan Adele. Jamie Latimer on the ladies' side of that 35-39. Sitting in first place with 2 fifth-place finishes over Jen Osborne, who's got a second and an 11th. Jamie Latimer this year finished 17th in the individual semifinals. So Jamie knocking on the door of the games is knocking on the door of the podium right now. Here's a name that you're going to recognize. Rudolph Berger is sitting atop the men 40-44 division. A first in landscaping duty, hauling around that 200-pound sandbag like it weighed 20 pounds, getting in the pool, swimming in shark bait, has a first and a second place finish. Kent McBride trying to catch him 4 points behind. So we've already alluded to her. Now we're going to talk about her. Anna Tunnicliffe Tobias sitting in first place atop of that 40-44 ladies leaderboard. 2 first place finishes, followed up by Sarah Blunk. Blunk is 5 points behind, though. She's got some work to do to catch the 7 times CrossFit athlete, but Blunk, no slouch herself, is up for the task. But Blunk, a 2 times games athlete herself, is up to the task. Moving over to the men's 45-49, Brigham Abbott sitting atop that leaderboard, tied for first with another name that you're going to recognize in Jason Grubb. Abbott took 30th in the semifinals in 22, so he's up to the task of holding off 4 times CrossFit Games champion Jason Grubb. We've got another name that's sure to trip me up, sitting at the top of the leaderboard in the women's 45-49. Out of Brazil, Sarah Queiroz has a first and a second, where Aaron Carter, who is tied with her, has a second and a first. These 2 highly experienced athletes going to be going head-to-head all weekend long. Cannot wait to see how this one plays out. In the 50-54 men's category, Scott Williams with 2 third-place finishes shows consistency, leads to the top of that leaderboard. In the 50-54 ladies division, Jackie White with a tie for 4th in landscaping duty and a first in the pool this afternoon is leading Erica Nordstrom Benninghoff by 2 points, who took a first on landscaping duty, throwing around that heavy sandbag, and a 6th in the pool. In potentially the deepest division in our entire competition, the men's 55-59 category is sure to play out in an exciting fashion throughout the weekend. Mike Egan dominating landscaping duty in a way that no one else in their division did, has led himself to a 4-point lead over Mark Zilikowski. Zilikowski took a 4th in landscaping duty and a 5th in shark bait. Egan's got a 5-point lead, but this field is so deep, they've got a shot to chip away. An equally tight, but maybe even more competitive division, at least to this point in the weekend, is the 55-59 ladies. Lisa Trenka with a 3rd and a 2nd leads the way with 5 points over Kristen Johnson, who has a 1st and a 5th. Mickey Shelton, tied with Johnson with 2 thirds, is rounding out the top 3. In the 60-64, Gary Gaudry leading the way by 1 point with a 2nd and a 3rd. At the top of that leaderboard. On the women's side, Betsy Vanderberg, a name that you're going to recognize from many of the Masters competitions, including a multi-time MFCer, as well as a 2nd place at the games this year, sits at the top of her division with a 1st in landscaping duty and a 3rd in the pool. She's being chased down, though, by Marcy Spurlock, who took a 1st in shark bait to close that gap. On the 65-plus side, we've got a tie at the top between Jim Pieper and Thomas Isbicki. Pieper took a 1st in landscaping duty. Isbicki took a 1st this evening in the pool. Both have 3 points. This should be a great battle as the weekend plays out. Speaking of great battles, in the ladies' side of the 65-plus, Bev Labonte took a 3rd this morning in landscaping duty, but came out strong in the pool to make sure that she is in first place over Susan Wallace, who's behind by just 1 point. So you've seen what day 1 held. Now let's take a look at what awaits the elite individuals on day number 2 right out of the gates. So after all of the work that they did yesterday with the sandbags, all of the swimming that they did, they're going to come out to Bjorndalen. Bjorndalen has an 8-minute time cap. At 3, 2, 1, go, they've got to do 1,000 meters on the ski erg, but you know it's not going to be that simple. Every minute on the minute, they've got to do 20 crossovers with the RX Frevo rope. So they're going to come out at 3, 2, 1, go. They've got 20 crossovers, and in the remaining time of that minute, so they're going to get as many meters on that ski erg as is possible. And at the very next minute, they've got another 20 crossovers. This workout is going to be fast, it's going to be furious, and we're going to see who comes out on top. Workout number 4 for the individuals has a little bit of everything and is going to test you to the max at every single one of those. You've got 3 rounds of 3 minutes. In those 3 minutes, you've got to do a 300 or 250 meter row. You've got 3 deadlifts at 365 or 265. 3 legless rope climbs or 2 legless rope climbs, and in the remaining time in that 3-minute window, you've got to get as far into a 150-foot handstand walk as you possibly can. When that 3 minutes hits, you've got a 1-minute rest to recover, and then you start it all over again. Row, deadlift, legless rope climb, and handstand walk. You handstand walk each round until you get to 150 feet or until that 9-minute time cap hits. Good luck to all our athletes who are taking on the gallows. You've seen the highlights, you've heard the leaderboard. Now tomorrow brings us 3 workouts and the chance for everything to be flipped on its head. Hey, make sure that you're following our social media accounts. Keep an eye on our YouTube for the next daily recap. I'm Kyle Shipp, and for everyone here at the Masters Fitness Championship, the excitement has only begun.